everybody, today you are going to learn how to draw Hobie Brown, aka Spider-Punk. So grab your sketchbook, your pencil, your eraser, a few basic coloring materials, and let's begin. Alright, as we're drawing Hobie Brown today, you're going to learn two things. First, you're going to learn figure drawing with the 3 steps from stick figures to basic shapes and details. And then secondly, you're going to learn the secret shape for making better arms and legs for any character, not just Hobie Brown, aka Spider-Punk. So here we go. Turn your paper vertically. First, we're going to make the torso shape. So we're going to start with this curved sort of trapezoid shape. More of a straight side on the left, curved on the right. This is going to be a common theme in today's lesson. Underneath that, put this little upside down triangle. And then with our stick figure here for our initial sketch, we want to go ahead and put sticks that follow the action of the limbs. And so we've got one arm going straight up. Sketch these very lightly so that you'll have an easy time erasing. And this one comes down with the elbow bent like that. Now, one thing you're going to want to check is that this line should be about the same length as this one. So you can measure it with your fingers. And for this one, you're going to want to put the elbow in the middle and make sure that each of those parts are also the same length. In fact, each of these lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, should all be the same length. Next, let's do the same for the legs down here. First, we're going to have this one. This one's going to be long. It's going to be as long as the entire torso. So measure this with your fingers. Keep that same distance. Put a little dot down here. That will show you the length of the leg. It's coming a little bit forward, but then this is actually only the knee. It's looking so large because it's coming forward a little bit. And then this bends back about even at a diagonal with the waist. Then let's go ahead and put this sort of triangular shape for the boot. He's got some long boots on. Here, this one's going to be, this leg is a little bit in the distance, so it's going to be a little shorter. It's going to be at an angle. So if you check the angle of this waist, the shoulders, it's also the angle that these knees line up. Then it bends back. And we want this boot to be angled that way. So this one is angled down to the left. This one is angled to the right. And you want to make it a bit smaller, about half the size, because it's in the distance. Simply by making this half the size of this bigger boot, automatically we've created some depth on our page here. Now, this torso is sort of at an angle, and then we want the neck to sort of angle up this way. So he's got sort of a bend to his pose here. So I'm going to put an oval here. Then I'm going to sharpen this shape a little bit by a circle up top. Straighter edges down here along the chin. And then pointy down at the very bottom of the chin. And he's got a longer, sort of more stretched shape here for the head than some of the Spider-Man characters. So you might want to make that a little bit longer than you think you need to. And it should be about half the size of the torso. You can sort of check to make sure you did the head the right size with your fingers here. And then 2 heads should fit in the torso there. So a couple of measurements to check. The head should fit in the torso twice. It should also we should also have the torso the same, from the torso to the bottom of the pelvis should be the same distance as just this upper leg. Also want to make sure each parts of the arms are the same length. This is a little bit smaller. This leg is a little bit smaller than the other arms and this front leg because it's further in the distance, so everything appears a little bit smaller. Now, let's go ahead and just put in some basic shapes for the hands now, and we'll put the fingers on there in the detail stage. But he's got these little fist shapes. It's like an upside down house. Needs to be a little bit smaller. All right, now this is what I'm excited to share with you today, and that is the secret shape that when I learned this, it made drawing arms and legs for any type of character so much easier. It unlocked a whole new way of drawing figures that I didn't have to memorize how to do every single particular muscle so that it's exactly accurate, anatomically correct. Instead, this is a shortcut for drawing characters with muscles in a much easier way. So that tip is, this is the shape. It's quite simple. Curve on one side, straight on the other. Now, if you can make this more of a cylindrical shape, like a 3D cylinder, it's going to be even better. So skinny ellipse at the top, curve on one side, straight on the other. Now, the straight side doesn't always need to be exactly straight, but it should be a little bit straighter, less curvy than the other side. So you're going to have one side very curved, the other much less curved. Depending on the character that you're drawing, these curves might be very large curves, they might be smaller, they might be hardly noticeable. There is a shape that you'll often see where instead of just one, in lots of characters' legs and arms, instead of just one single curve, you get more of an S curve, which is like you've taken the letter S and stretched it out. And you can see how this shape could be all sorts of things. This could be a leg. And that's the calf muscle, that's an 8. Or this could be a hand. So this shape could also be a thigh, as you'll see, even a bicep, especially if the bulge is a little larger. So this is a very helpful shape. I'll show you how we'll piece them together here with Spiderpunk. Now, with Spiderpunk, he's very skinny, and so these curves are hardly noticeable. But here we go. First, with this thigh, we're going to have the curve on the outside. It's a very slight curve. It's not a big curve. It's hardly noticeable. Then on the inside, we're going straight. We're going to go all the way down to this point, and then I'm going to come and just square this off at the bottom. With Spiderpunk's character, he's got lots of sharp and geometric angles. Geometric means squares and sort of a look of squares and triangles. And then on this one, we're going to first straighten that out a little bit between the legs and then bring this straight. And this one curves. Now this leg is skinnier because it's further away. And so everything appears a bit smaller on this side. A little bit of it. About like that. It's very thin, very skinny. All right, so now let's do the upper arm here. Lots of the time, I don't always do this, but for most superhero characters, I will. Characters that have pretty defined muscles, put some circles up there for the shoulders. This one will be important. This one's going to be covered up by his vest, but we'll put it there anyways. All right, so over here, we're going to have the straight side here for the bicep. and the curve here on the tricep. Gets a little skinnier at the elbow, and then we're going to curve out again. Notice it's just past the elbow before it curves in, and we get really skinny at the wrist. This is actually just one long, straight, continuous line, which really adds to the drama of this pose. Over here, we've got the shoulder coming down, and then we're going to go with just straight lines at this angle. His bicep does bulge a little bit, but it's in an angle where it's facing us, so we don't really see it. Now we're going to bulge out. That was a bit off. The bulge is further down, and then it angles in. And here, again, it's not exactly straight. I mentioned earlier, it doesn't always have to be straight, but it is going to be less of a curve on one side. So there's less of a curve here, more of a curve here. Now, there's something very interesting that happens when we're drawing Hobie Brown, Spider-Punk. Some of these edgier characters in animations and cartoons and comics, what the artists will do is often take these rounded shapes and make them a little more pointy. And so you don't have to, but if you'd like to try that, you can come here, and instead of just a smooth curve, we can go a little darker with our pencil, or you could just do this in the inking stage and actually turn that into a little sharp point right there. Let's see, what are some other good places? I did it already down here on the knee. Not sure if you saw that. If not, you can go ahead and do that. This part of the leg here. See how we're making them a little pointier on some of these edges. That creates a pretty unique, interesting style. Also, his arms and legs are a bit lengthened. It's a bit exaggerated. Sharpen this. Sharpen this. And this is something you can do with any of your characters as well. Exaggerate the forms, the shapes, the points, etc. All right, so we've got the basic shapes here. We've darkened these lines. I'm going to bring this out a little bit at an angle like that so the arm comes in a little bit. So we've got this great setup for the basic shapes. We did our stick figure, and then we added basic shapes on top, and now it's time to refine the details. So I'm going to start with the details at the top and go down. You don't need to get all of these. Really, you could add whatever level of detail you want. It's already a great pose. Just putting a face, mask, some basic clothing on it be good enough. There's a little bit of detail for thumb. The crosses over. 1, 2, 3, 4 simple rectangles. Thumb crossing over, which is a short little rectangle. And each of these are 4 tiny little rectangles, all fitting in this sort of house shape like that. That's an easy way to do a fist, by the way. Rectangle, and then it covers up 2 of those rectangles, and there's 2 little rectangles over here. And that's a good fist. All right. He's got a little bracelet here. I think he's got some tats over here. We could just save that for when we color, if you would like to add the blue tattoos. I believe he has. Then we see a little bit of the t-shirt over here. The vest is going to be some serious extra shapes we got to add, so let's go ahead and do that. First, we're going to start under the chin. We're going to curve out like that, one big long curve. Vest comes behind his back. All of this is going to be dark gray or black, shaded in. It's in the shadow. Then we've got the collar of this vest. That's why it's important you draw lightly, because we're covering up a lot of what we've drawn previously. Two basically big triangles here. And it dips in. Now, this should come up a little bit, because what you're going to want to do is then come about halfway, a little bit lower than the halfway between this line. And you're going to aim for this tip at a curve. So we see a little bit of the top of the jacket. There's like a little zipper here, maybe. Can't really fit that in there though at this level of detail, but maybe some patches on his vest. It does have a little buckle here flying up. Now we're going to jump up here to the head. Like I mentioned, the artists make some of his features that usually would be rounded for most characters, a little more pointy. That includes sort of this curved edge of his skull up here. So that's a little bit more pointy. Now let's put a slight curved line there so you see the angle of his face. Eyes up here. That's one. Two. Just get that a little more defined. Now, what's cool, of course, about his Spider-Man mask is he's got the punk spikes on top. And they follow that curve that we did in the beginning of drawing his face. So I'm going to go ahead and very lightly just do the spikes. I'm going to fit about 4 up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. One thing I'm going to check with these is the tallest one should be this one. This one should be a little lower. So it should sort of go at a curve like this. This is the one on the back of his head. So now I'm going to actually turn these into spikes. These two are on the back side of his head. The front two actually dip in to that head a little bit and are actually cone shapes. Very thin cone shapes. See if you can fit that in there. Mine might even be too thick. If you make them real thick, might look a little weird. I'll thin these up when I'm inking. But that's basically it for the head. We won't really see the spiderweb design on the mask, but if you like, you can try to put it in there. Maybe on the head you see it a little easier. 4 little lines. One down the middle. You can do a couple curved lines between them. Here we go. That actually does look pretty nice. We fit in, it's not real defined. You don't need a lot of detail for that web, just a couple of curved lines across the top, the bottom, and then 4 lines almost converging right here at the angles of the eyes. Great, now let's keep going. Let's give him a neck. He actually needs a neck, even though a lot of it's going to be covered up by this vest. Neck is a little muscle here, connecting the neck to the shoulder. Keep that light because he's got other things over top, like a necklace here, and his guitar strap, which is going to come up and then down and across, down to his waist. And then it's going to stop right in the middle of the vest, and that's where the it's going to attach to the guitar. Now, so I've got the action with this stick line, up, cross, out, stopping in the middle of the vest. Now I'm going to make it a little more 3D, give it some thickness. And and it folds over here. So if I put a little shadow under there, I can see now it's a little more three-dimensional. And over here is the guitar. Which if you do with these double lines here, it'll make it look more 3D. Especially if, when you're in the coloring stage, this side is shaded a little more because it's against his back. It's catching less of the light. And it continues behind his back, and then the neck of the guitar is going to come out behind his hand. He's not grabbing it, it's going behind his wrist actually, but we do need one mistake I made here that you want to pay attention to. It's going to be coming out like this, and if that's the neck of the guitar, then the body of the guitar needs to be at that same angle, so I'm going to angle it down a little more. And then right in the middle of that, is where I'll have the guitar neck going back. You might run out of room for the end of it. If you do, that's fine. It's not a big deal. You could just go off the page. It does look like at this angle he's holding it, but he's not. It's too far behind him. If it goes at the wrist or even above the hand, that's fine too. It doesn't really matter where it intersects with his arm. All right, let's do this part. We've got the vest going out before it gets down to his waist. Okay, if it helps, makes it easier, erase underneath there, because the vest is going to be in the front. And the collar actually comes way up like this. There's a lot going on up here. So you want to keep it all separate and defined. So I'm moving this neck down a little bit so it doesn't blend in with this vest. The vest is in front, so I erase everything behind it. And there we go. Once this vest is colored in black, then it'll be much easier to see what's what. If you have room for a little bit of shoulder down here, before you get to the arm, add it. If not, maybe it's covered up by the vest, that's fine. You don't need to see it. I don't know what you call this, because it's not quite a bracelet if it's on the bicep, is it? But he's got an armband. I guess that's what it is, an armband right there. And I'm going to bring this part of the forearm in a little bit, not all the way down to the bottom. But if you bring it in a little bit, you get a little more overlap. Now for this arm, all I'm going to do is add a line here, shade this part of the hand just a little bit, blend it down into the forearm, and then just 1, 2, 3. 3 lines there is all I need. Maybe see a little pinky coming down like that. Now it actually looks exactly like he's holding it, doesn't it? That's all right. Maybe I'll put the pinky out a little bit. All right. Now, we'll do the shirt. It's a little bit torn, tattered. Just do that across. Stomach is in there. He's got his belt. And he's got another belt because he's so cool. He wears two. This one is curved. This one's much curved in the opposite angle. He's got like patches and stuff here. Spider designs. You don't really need to do it all. You just color the pants in black or put random designs on it, up to you. The boots are red. Laces down here, just a couple straight lines. And Hobie Brown, aka Spider-Punk, is just about done. I think all I'm going to do is put a couple lines in here because he's leaping and got his arm up. There's going to be a couple of wrinkles in his shirt, which are just very light, quick lines. A couple of tears, which are just very skinny, sort of irregular ovals. And there he is. The pencils are done. Now it's just time to ink and color. Go at your own pace for this part, or even if you like the penciled version, or if you want to shade it in pencil, feel free to do that. Be sure to share it with us so we can see how it ends up. Can't wait to see yours.